Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals. My name is Tommy Leung. I am the lead judge for today's hearing. With me on the panel are Judges Veronica Long and Amanda Fasik. Together, we will be equal participants in making the decision in this appeal. Before we go on the record, some housekeeping things to take care of. Today's hearing is being transcribed by Zoom, the platform. So we ask that everyone speak clearly at a regular pace. Do not talk over each other. And of course, best practice is to mute your mics if not speaking. Um, Before our hearing today, we've all agreed that the issue to be decided today is whether the interest for 2017 should be abated. Ms. Steinbach, is that your understanding?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. And Mr. Rickerford, is that your understanding also?
Yes, Judge Leon.
Okay, and once we go on the record, I will have some more preliminary remarks, have you folks introduce each other, and then we'll have Ms. Steinbach be sworn in, and we can start the hearing. So it's approximately 1:03 p.m. It is January 16th, 2025. This is docket number 2305-13190, the appeal of Steinbach. The issue, well, before we do that, before the hearings, the parties stipulated to the following items. Number one, they've agreed to have this hearing held electronically. Number two, all parties have agreed to have their exhibits admitted with no objections. So for the appellant, Ms. Steinbach, her exhibits 1 and 2 are being admitted into the record. And for the Franchise Tax Board, their exhibits A through G, as in George, are being admitted into the record. And number three, the issue to be decided today is whether interest for the 2017 tax year should be abated. Will the parties please introduce themselves, starting with you, Ms. Steinbach?
Ulrika Steinbach.
Thank you. And for the Franchise Tax Board?
Good afternoon. This is Josh Rickerford for the Franchise Tax Board.
Good afternoon. This is Adam Seuss, Attorney Supervisor for the Franchise Tax Board.
Thank you all. And before we even get started, this hearing is being live streamed, so please be careful when revealing personal confidential information. Ms. Steinbach, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. And you've requested, or we were given 10 minutes for your presentation. So I'll allow you to split that 10 minutes however you want to split it. And we are on the record. So please begin your presentation. As I said, you can split those 10 minutes any way you want to. You can reserve some time for rebuttal if you wish, but this is up to you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. I promise that I'll keep my statement brief. I may reserve a couple minutes for rebuttal, but I really appreciate and thank you for letting me appear before you to appeal the interest charges that I have paid. I'm here to try to persuade you to offer a one-time abatement of these interest charges by suggesting that it would be fair, reasonable, and just to do so. I understand the rules for paying taxes, but my situation falls outside of the typical or usual parameters. The situation that occurred and these interest charges were not in my control, as the IRS caused the delays that led to these interest charges. I have an excellent payment history, and I have always paid my taxes promptly and without issue. In January 2017, I had a destructive, devastating, and life-changing landslide that originated on the properties above me. This landslide and the subsequent refiling of my taxes resulted in an IRS audit. Unfortunately, the IRS audit process, from their first notice to resolution of the audit, took over 3.5 years to address due to COVID-related closures and delays. Upon IRS audit resolution, I sent in the amended return to the FTB proactively. I am imploring you to consider that I am being penalized for actions outside of my control, and as a result of actions not taken in a timely manner by the IRS. Please grant my reasonable request for a one-time abatement of the interest charges. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steinbach. Mr. Rickerford, do you have any questions for Ms. Steinbach?
I do not, Judge.
Okay, Judge Long, any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Judge Fasik, any questions for Ms. Steinbach?
Just have one question. Ms. Steinbeck, in the briefing, it seemed that you were making a financial disability argument, and I hear today more of a reasonable cause argument. Is that correct?
That's correct, but I think it's a both argument, right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judge Fasik. I will hold my questions until the parties have finished their presentations. Mr. Rickerford, why don't you start your presentation? You also have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Judge Leong. Good afternoon, and my name is Josh Ricafort, and along with my co-counsel Adam Seuss, we represent the respondent, Franchise Tax Board. As previously discussed, the issue on appeal is whether appellant has established any basis under the law for the abatement of the 2017 interest. Appellant filed a 2017 tax year amended California resident income tax return on June 9, 2022. Appellant's amended return included payment to satisfy its reflected balance due, and as required by California law, FTB assessed interest on the additional taxes paid by appellant more than 4 years after the due date for payment of taxes. Appellant initially requested for abatement of interest based on the amount of time it took the IRS to resolve the underlying audit that led to appellant having to file an amended return with FTB. In this appeal, appellant did not really contend or provide any supporting evidence for the contention that the interest resulted from a delay by FTB. Therefore, abatement of interest based on a managerial or ministerial delay by FTB does not apply to this appeal. Subsequently, appellant requested for abatement of interest based on extreme financial hardship. While FTB sympathizes with the difficulties appellant faced resulting from the mudslide that damaged her home, appellant did not provide sufficient evidence, extrinsic and contemporaneous evidence to meet her burden of showing a financial hardship. Furthermore, the Office of Tax Appeals has acknowledged in its own presidential opinion of the appeal amoy that it does not have any authority to review FTB's interest determinations based on financial hardship. As such, FTB's finding of no extreme financial hardship cannot be reviewed or changed by the Office of Tax Appeals. There is no reasonable cost for abatement of the interest, and because appellant has failed to meet her burden of establishing basis for the abatement of interest, FTB respectfully requests that the Office of Tax Appeals sustain the interest assessed as required by California law. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions the panel may have.
Thank you. Judge Long, any questions for the Franchise Tax Board?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Judge Fasik, any questions for FTB?
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, and neither do I. So, Ms. Steinbach, you have a few minutes to rebut if you wish.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is the first that I've heard that I didn't provide or establish, I guess, what led to the audit. I'm not quite sure about that because there are substantial documentation that was provided regarding the situation with the IRS in my landslide. it was so grievous that I actually finally moved this year. It took that long, and finally was able to move this July to reestablish an entire hillside and provide for the safety of that location in order to leave it. When you have a landslide, you are not covered by any home insurance. So immediately we were red tagged, and that provided severe financial hardship on top of the fact I had a 1 and a 4-year-old, and we ran out of the house not knowing if we would be caught up in the landslide. So I'm not sure how I was supposed to know that I need to establish the landslide, which I can, and I have lots of photos about the IRS audit, which I have huge inches and inches of documentation about. The fact that it provided a hardship when I couldn't leave because I was paying a mortgage and I had paid too much down. So I was advised to leave, except I had no place to go. And also, I didn't have, it would have ruined my credit forever. And I, that I didn't provide all these documents when I have them available. And I just needed to know, just as with the IRS audit, exactly what to provide. And it just keeps on I keep on telling people I'm trying to recover from 2017. And I was hoping that this year I would, because on top of all this with the IRS, I had to pay the state additional sums, but the IRS actually owes me over $100,000 refund that they're saying is too late because of all these delays. Again, none of which I caused. So I have been in hell on this going through. And you'll see when I file this year, I didn't make a dime because I had to put every dime in to recreate a hillside, create an extensive damage, all not on my property, in order to be able to get out of that house. So if I could provide that, I can provide it almost right now. Pictures, documents, whatever is required, I will do so.
Okay. Judge Long, any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Judge Fasik, any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Okay. I'm gonna go to the Franchise Tax Board. Mr. Rickerford, did you and the Franchise Tax Board and Ms. Steinbach communicate as to the financial disability abatement provisions, what she needed to provide, what evidence she needed for you guys to make that determination?
We had some communication initially when Ms. Steinbach had provided proof that the landslide occurred. There is no question that the landslide occurred and that actual damage happened to her property. The issue was we didn't receive enough financial documentation to show that there was no income coming in, that she wasn't able to make payments towards her bills or her mortgage, which what I understood to be being paid at that time while she was going through the extreme hardship. But we did have communications at that time.
And if available, could she still interact with you folks to continue that discussion, or is it too late? How's that work?
I will defer to my co-counsel, Mr. Seuss, on that one.
Mr.
Uh,
Seuss.
Yes, Judge Leong, we would be happy to look at any documentation and substantiation that the appellant has.
Okay. Ms. Steinbach, so after this hearing, why don't you and the Franchise Tax Board get together? And the Franchise Tax Board is correct that there is a case named Appeal of Moy that says that at OTA, we do not have any discretion to reverse FTP's determination regarding financial disability. So if you can carry on discussion with them, you might be able to find some relief. But I don't have any further questions for you. If there's nothing else, we will end the hearing at this point. Ms. Steinbach, anything else from you?
Um, I thank you. I think it's a great burden that is put on people who have really difficult situations. I'm a solo parent, and my youngest, who was 1, is now 9.
Hmm.
So it's been a long time
Yes. Yes.
on this, and it's pretty. I mean, the value of my house, I want to be really clear with Mr. Seuss and Mr. Rockefort. The value of my house was $0 after the landslide. Nobody would buy it because the landslide didn't stem from my property, and it damaged my property, and there was a risk of greater landslides. So I feel like that alone was financial hardship and proved financial hardship, as well as all the documents we had to produce and provide to the IRS for that audit.
Okay. I think that would close the hearing for today. I am going to close the record and have the case submitted. We will endeavor to get a decision out within 100 days of today. I thank everybody for participating in today's hearing, and everybody have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.